fire.
This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we talked to a young woman who has who's restarted her financial life basically from scratch in 2009. Now she's got to figure out what's next. What are the priorities? What's the primary priority when there are so many priorities going on? Sending kids to college, retirement, housing. She lives in an expensive area, and she joins us now. Hello, Lucy.
Hello, Pete. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Did I just summarize that somewhat appropriately?
You did that perfectly.
Oh, well, I'm fishing for compliments. How's my hair look today? Don't answer that. It's balding.
There you go.
So 2009, I mentioned this year. What happened in 2009 that caused you to restart this whole thing?
I went through a divorce and unfortunately was left holding everything financially, from a house to bills to my ex's car, pretty much everything. He didn't pay, so it came back onto me. So I ended up trying to go through a foreclosure or a short sale. They denied it, ended up foreclosing. Thought my only way out was a bankruptcy, and went through that and have just started over from nothing to where I am today, raising 2 kids. So it's been quite a financial journey.
Yeah, so 9 years ago, you have 2 daughters. Here's how the show works. I occasionally make up facts about people. I feel like you have a daughter that's 13 and one that's 11, or did I completely make both of those things up?
That is correct.
I'm right? Nicole, can
Yes,
you write that
you're
down
right.
that I'm right? I'm very rarely correct. Okay, so they were, 4 and 2 when this is all going down?
Just about 3 and, almost 2.
And now
3.5 months.
you're 45 years old. Let's learn some stuff about you. You're 45 years old. Nicole is showing us your numbers now. Your gross annual income is $105,000. Your net monthly income is about $5,000. You have $250,000 saved, dare I say, from scratch, right?
Right.
Putting
Yes.
$1,300 a month away. You've got $21,000. This is a hell of a comeback story, Lucy. I'm sort of into this.
Is that good? Oh, and here I thought I wasn't doing enough. I'm so afraid I'm constantly behind the ball on everything.
Well,
so.
You're what we call a box 2 person around here. So let me explain, because otherwise if I just leave everyone hanging, that's a really weird way to categorize someone. A box 2 is someone who's doing great. Like they're behaviorally, they're doing fine, but it doesn't feel like it to them. And so that sounds like that's you.
Yes.
Now, $105,000 is a nice income, and I'm going to throw an except on here, except for the fact that you're in one of the highest expense places to live in the country.
Yes.
So how's that work? $105,000. Oh, I could do my little calculator thing here that Nicole and I were doing. We're going to do a cost of living calculator so it gives some context. Can I say the city in which you live? Are you comfortable with that?
Yes. Yes, we pay a high sun tax here.
Okay, so you are in San Diego. All right, so I'm pulling this up. Everyone waiting there on the show, waiting for me to do my work. Just stand by. Okay, so if in Indianapolis, where this show is more or less filmed out of, $50,000 income, to earn the equivalent of $50,000 in San Diego, a person would have to earn $79,204. So about 25% more. Cost of living is actually 58% higher. I'm really good at numbers here today. 58% higher in San Diego. So that 100,000 is really like around the 70 range, 70, 75 in a normal market. Does that make sense?
It does.
Which is a couple things going on here. Number one, I like your $250,000, but to that same tune, if you continue to live out there in retirement, you can stretch your dollars a lot thinner out there because they buy a lot less. Do you think you'll retire in the area in which you live? I know you're only 45, but have you thought about that?
I love it here. I'm an East Coast transplant, and so there's always the possibility of looking to go back later on, but I don't want to deal with snow, sleet, freezing rain. I like the sun, and so I don't know. It's hard to say, and I think that's one thing I constantly worry about with retirement is being able to afford to live here.
So let's air our grievances. What are the main things that you feel like you're pulled in different directions? You got retirement, right? That one's pretty obvious.
Right. Right.
What else?
And then renting versus buying. Of course, going through the foreclosure and starting over, I've never been able to have enough for that down payment. And I rent now, and I feel like I will just never be in a place financially to save up enough to afford a mortgage. And then, of course, on top of that, I'm also saving for my kids' college, and I don't want to stop that because I want to help them as much as I can, but I know that's probably hindering everything else as well because I am putting so much towards that a month.
All right. So, and is there any more? Because those are three, the biggest ones you can have. Is there any more?
No, no, I'm debt free. I paid off my car a year ago and live by a very money cash budget. I keep myself on a cash budget so that I can stay in line with everything else. So I don't have the debt, just other expenses that come up here and there. So.
All right, so let's tackle these one at a time. Let's first look at retirement because you brought it up first. Let's look deep into the future based on what you're doing now. You will be a millionaire, so that's good news. And you
Okay.
will be a millionaire, oddly enough, on my dad's birthday. So March 31st, 2031. So that is 13 years from when we were filming this, last Saturday. 13 years, 2031, March 31st. Does that seem like it's coming up fast, or does that seem possible, or what do you think?
I'm glad it's possible. It still seems a little further away, but I know I have a lot to catch up on. So hopefully I can eventually put more towards it and make that date a little bit sooner.
We also think, based on exactly what you're doing now and not a dime more, that by the time you're 67, you will have, actually, we changed that number, Nicole. That's one of the ones we changed. $2.25 million at age 67 with a net monthly income of $5,200 a month, which will feel like $3,000 a month. But Lucy, this is where this gets a little bit crazy. It'll feel like $3,000 a month in San Diego, which, where does that get you?
Right. Not very far.
Okay, so here's where we go next. From a retirement perspective, of being able to retire and being able to retire successfully and support yourself, is there another option other than preparing for your own retirement? Like, is there a second method in which you'll be able to retire successfully without your massive input?
Right.
I mean, is there? That's a question.
Not that I know of.
Correct. That is the right answer. There was only one right answer. You got the right answer. No, there is no other way for you to remain stable and liquid in retirement than to prepare for yourself, which is what you're doing. So that's good. So let's move on to the next one. From a college saving standpoint, is there another option for your daughters to get the education that both you and they want to get? Is there another option other than you paying for it?
Only burdening them with student loans, and I guess that's my fear. I was fortunate enough when I went to college, my parents paid for it, so I didn't come out with student loans, and I work in an industry where I see what the students are coming out with, and I don't want to burden them with that or as much of it if I can help them.
And okay, so this is the part of the conversation where we're going to have to rewind a little bit. You know, when your life changed a lot in 2009, you went through some things weren't fun, right? And a lot of them are behind
Right.
you. This aspect of your financial life is not behind you. This, in my opinion, and not knowing a ton about you, Lucy, is one of the ramifications of all that is that, frankly, I don't think you are in a position to fund their education without unduly burdening yourself and ruining retirement or burdening them appropriately. So what I'm saying is I don't think you can do both. I don't think you can retire by the time you're 70 and fund their education at the same time.
Okay.
Do you know that? I mean, I assume you know that. It's not fun to hear, but it's math.
I know, and I know that. I think it's just the denial that it's hard to not want to do for them.
Sure, but you've done a lot for
I
them.
know.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Now there's an option. There is an option. You've saved what, $25,000 already for them?
Well, yes, in their 529, there's 25,000, and then I also put money aside in just a savings account for them. One has 12,000, and one has 8,000, and I continue to fund that as well. I put in $50 a paycheck for each one.
And then are you putting am I making this number up, 400 into the 529?
Correct. Right now, and then what my original plan was, right now for my youngest, she still has after school costs that I pay child care wise, $328 a month. So when that is up, come September, I was planning on taking that money and adding it to the 529.
Now, if we look at how that money will grow with those contributions, like right now, let's say if you don't add the 328, by the time your oldest daughter is of college age, you'll have about $88,000 in 529 plans. By then adding the 328 in addition to that, you'll have roughly $111,000 set aside for retirement or education by the time your oldest daughter gets to college age. And that's at a actually, hold on. That's at a 6% rate of return, which is important for you to know. So here's the thing, $111,000. That's a lot of money.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it depends, like, where are they going to go? Are they going to go to a private school that costs them $60,000 a year? And if that's the case, that is a problem. Do you?
No, in state. Luckily, in state, I'm hoping to, one of the Cal State UC schools, so something definitely within state.
Yeah,
to keep the cost down.
I think your biggest fear, if I'm you, and this maybe you've thought of this, maybe you haven't, is how do you prevent yourself from taking on student loans on their behalf at any point during the process? Because not only does that mean that they've maxed out student loans, because for you to take on student loans for them means that they've taken on the most than they're allowed to take out. So then that only messes up them financially, but then it essentially ruins your retirement.
Okay. And I do have their 529 in not an age one, but in all stocks, trying to at least help kind of increase the amount that they were making. I had it in an age fund, but it just didn't seem like it was making as much.
Yeah, and it's sort of different strokes for different folks, and it depends what plan you're in. Like I'm in the age-based ones. I have a 9 and a 6-year-old, and they've been doing amazing.
Okay.
But again, it's all relative to expectations on that.
Okay.
The third thing you bring up is housing. And so if you never buy a house, do you have options on how to live comfortably out in the San Diego area? Are there other options than buying a house?
The rent just keeps going up. I'm very fortunate where I am, that I've been here for several years, and the owner has not increased the rent, but she could, or if something happens and I had to rent somewhere else, the rent that I'm paying now would increase probably about $500 minimum a month.
What are you paying now?
$1,750 a month.
Okay, so the average 2-bedroom apartment rent in San Diego, according to what I'm looking at, is $2,200 a month. So you're well below market, which is great, right?
Right.
But of course, the median home price in San Diego is $789,000.
Right. So that's why I just feel like, am I wasting time even trying to save up for a down payment? Is it cheaper for me for now to rent? Do I just dump that money maybe into retirement, and then when I'm ready to retire and I can pull that out, looking at pulling out a larger amount and maybe just moving somewhere else where I can pay a house or condo or something in cash? It's trying to figure out what's the best financial plan for me and where do I put it for now.
What do you think maybe you've done this research, maybe you haven't. What do you think is the lowest dollar amount of a home you could purchase right now in the area in which you live?
It's probably about 500, yeah, probably about 500, maybe 525.
So that would easily double your rent payment, right, as to what you're paying
Right.
now. Which, I mean, you could do that if you stop saving for retirement and stop saving for college and all those other things, which seems like a bad idea, right?
Right.
I,
Yes.
I think you're in one of those situations that you probably will have to continue to rent. And if at some point in time you have to make the decision to then move out of the immediate area you're in once your career changes and once the girls are out of the house, then that may be where you find yourself, is that housing decision has to get pushed off. I'll also say this: interest rates are currently rising. Are we on the verge of another economic collapse? I don't know. I mean, it's just as much for you to say as it is for me to say. But I feel like getting into the housing market, which feels like it could be at another bubble, when it would be a stretch, would be a bad idea right now, in my opinion.
Okay. So if I do have some extra money, possibly per month, anywhere from 300 maybe up to $500 a month, should I put some of that in my Roth, the 403b I have through work? Because right now I just have about $180 a paycheck going into that.
Yeah, I think if you have, it goes back to the priority thing. I think putting money towards housing right now does not make sense. Okay, so let's eliminate
Okay.
that one just for the sake of this conversation. Then it becomes, all right, do I more aggressively fund college or do I more aggressively fund retirement? I don't know. When you include Social Security within what you will have for retirement, you more or less have been able to replace your income at age 67 with what your income is today as we stand here and speak. So that is to
Okay.
say, if you're going to increase anything, I would consider increasing college savings at this point in time. I know. I just said there's other options for
Right.
college, and there isn't for retirement. But your retirement's decent. I feel like if you try to take that money and put it towards housing, that would be a mistake. But I feel like you can at least do yourself a favor by putting more into college now with just 5 years to go with your oldest daughter.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Is this making sense?
It does. I think it's just, yeah, because I look at what I get over a bank account, and I'm just like, the regular savings account won't really get me
No.
anywhere. And if I'm not going to save up to buy a house now, I would rather invest it to where it can really be used to its fullest advantage and make the most money off of it.
Yeah, that's why I think saving for a house right now is a mistake. And I also feel like if you need to make sure that you're investing that money for college as opposed to putting it into a savings account. Like, it needs to go in the 529. I highly recommend the age-based portfolio because
Okay.
you're not going to know when to pull out of the market, right? You just
Right.
aren't. As we speak right now, I mean, the market is in this just complete turmoil. An age-based portfolio takes some of that worry out because it gets a little more conservative as the girls get older and going to school. So I don't know. I always hate to get into the "if I were you" thing because I think it's silly. But if I were you, I would definitely go age-based portfolio, and I would put that extra money towards college because I think it's the nice middle ground. Because if you don't have enough money for college, not only will you burden them, you'll end up burdening
Right.
yourself, and that's what scares me. Like, you taking on more student loan debt personally, 10 years from now is a really bad thing.
Right. Yeah, because I'm so used to not having that. I don't want the loans or the bills or any of that. So
Oh.
now, right now, I'm putting money into just a savings account for them, and that was just kind of I knew they would use it for college, but maybe for other expenses too. Is it more beneficial for me to not put it into that and just dump even that into the 529, or is that extra money really not going to make that big of a deal?
If you have confidence that they're going to school, like if they're going to college, then I wouldn't put money in a savings account because you
Okay.
need the growth. I mean, you need 6% over 0%, right? You need that growth of the 5 to 10 years that they'll be in that college age. Because if you don't, I mean, it can be tens of thousands of dollars of difference over time.
Okay.
That's not to
And
say,
there's still enough.
don't move the savings you already have there, but I wouldn't actively save a lot into a savings account for them going forward.
Okay. And there's still enough time, even with my oldest, for the interest to compound to where it increases above that, what's in there now, that 25,000.
Sure, of course. Even if the market takes a huge correction here soon, which arguably it's in the midst of, it doesn't take but 5 years to recover. It's never taken more than 5 years to recover on a down market. So, past performance is not indicative of future performance, but yeah, there's plenty of time. There's definitely plenty of time.
And is that another reason why it's better to have it in an age space versus how I have it in the stock? Because it would take a bigger hit with
Absolutely.
it all in stocks.
Yeah, if we go through not that we're not in the midst of a correction right now, but if we really go through a big correction and you're all in stocks, you're going to get just hammered.
Okay. Then I don't have to look at it obsessively like once a month like I do right now and constantly see where it is and if it's making money.
That's what keeps you in the box 2, right? You don't want to be box 2, which is you're anxious all the time over the good work you're doing. You should be able to enjoy your good decisions, and one of the ways to do that is to stop looking at your investment account all the time.
Well, and it sounds like I'm doing better than I thought. I guess I'm always thinking I'm not doing enough, and I had so much to catch up on. For all those people who started, when they were 25, and I didn't have all of that, and so felt like it's never enough. I'm never putting enough in.
Are you sure you weren't born in the Midwest? Because that's a uniquely Midwest thing to be like, I'm not good enough.
Nope, East Coast at heart. So
all right, well, who knows?
Maybe in a previous life.
All right, anything else I can help you with?
No, that's good. You've put my mind at ease that I'm in a good place for retirement, and it helps to know college savings versus the house, so I can just keep on the renting for now and focus on that and just move forward from there.
Yeah, so. It stinks. The housing situation stinks. I just feel like right now is not the time to take action on that. And again, that's my opinion.
But when I retire, I can take out like a large enough amount and just maybe buy something at that time.
I wouldn't take an asset and turn, because then it's a balance sheet transfer. You're taking an asset, you're making a purchase, and there's no income creation. I would rather you use income off of that asset, which is your retirement account, to regularly make a payment on something. Like I think that makes more sense. And again, this is not practical, but the real solution is to not retire in the most expensive real estate market in the world. I mean,
right.
That's sort of part of it.
Okay. Maybe I'll win the lottery one day.
That's a good plan. Yeah.
There you go. See, there is always a plan.
There's always a plan. I love it. Well, best of luck to you and your girls. Congrats on, a heck of a rebuild. I love it. You've done a great job, so good job.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. All right, that's it for this week's Pete the Planner Show. San Diego. It's lovely. Yeah, people are like, that's the perfect temperature. And here's the thing. They're right. It always is. That's why it's so expensive. Live here in the Midwest where it's 70 one day, you get a tornado up your nose. The next day it's a full blizzard. Because who in the hell wants that? That's it. I'm Pete the Planner. Live somewhere nice.
This is where I came from. Planet Lovetron, where we drop love bombs, funk missiles, and live in soul shelters. No helter-skelter. The heat don't swelter because everybody stays cool. Left many moons ago to bring the philosophies of my ancestors to another place, God. Picked the third rock, gave me to my earth family, and told me to create, and so I am. Pen in my hand, microphone on the stand. Over vinyl, I command and demand. Magnificence in an instance, I can make you dance, cry, or love. Fly as a dove, released from Everest. The fresh is fresh, and you can call me E.T. Word to John Tesh. Let me bless this harmonic presentation. It's amazing, so amazing. I'm the reason. Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it? The tinkling of the keys is an homage to the little star. I sojourn over poetic descriptions of sound and travel to my other world. Out of this world, spaceship on my arm took me home, fueled by the ink and the megabytes and the hypertext transfer protocol, stronger than the Skynet and the Terminator. I push faders into warp speed, glide with ease, creating a breeze they call a black hole. Event horizon, no rear view concerns. This I adjourn, and beats I burn. This I adjourn, and beats I burn. Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it?